here at JW Hills in Manchester on Elm Street. It's our Division II preview. Jeremy Levier and Pete Terrier getting ready for the 2011 to 2012 New Hampshire high school basketball season. Got a couple of coaches lined up from Division II and some players that are going to join us. And before they get here, we're going to talk about the season a little bit. Obviously, Pete, when you start talking about Division II this year, before you look at this year, you got to look at the last 2 years and give some respect to what the Milford Spartans were able to do over the last couple of years, winning back-to-back championships and losing just one game in 2 years in the process. Pretty good team that's going to definitely leave their mark.
Yeah, that was a heck of a run by Milford. Mike Mitchell, Mike O'Loughlin, and Jamie Holder. You know, those three guys really meant a lot to that program over the last couple of years and brought a lot of pride back to Milford. Milford, has been competitive, in different sports, but never really dominant like that since back in the 70s. So Dan Murray, the head coach, I think played on those two championship teams from Milford in the mid 70s. So I can't wait to see how they are without those guys. See how good the rest of that program. Kids like Jovi Philbrook, who got a chance to play some minutes, and is Barlow back this year, and McCallum, if he can come back healthy. Let's see how good Milford can do without those three guys. And see.
McCallum was a senior last year, so he's gone. But yeah, Barlow's back. Jovi Philbrook, Richie Moore, another guy that came off the bench and had some good minutes for them last year. Definitely, it'll be interesting to see how they do. All those guys they lost, but I think they'll still be a pretty good team.
I think they'll be okay. Middle of the pack, I'm guessing at this point. But I don't think that Division II as a whole is as good as it was last year. I mean, they lost a lot of talent. There's a couple of teams that I think really stick out, and they're going to be playing each other on Friday night, Portsmouth and Pembroke, of course. Those, to me, are the cream of the crop, and I think your champion is going to play, going to be playing in that game Friday night at Pembroke Academy, either Portsmouth or Pembroke. If anybody else wins besides one of those two teams, I'll be shocked, quite frankly.
I think Pelham's going to be a good team. I think they're a solid number 3 team in there. I know they obviously lost Steve Spiru, their best player, and for the last few years, one of the best players in the whole state. But everybody else is back from that team that made a run and only lost by 4 points to that Milford Spartans team. They only lost by 4 to Milford, and Steve Spiru had, 6-8 points in that game. So they have some good players coming back. Derek DeFranzo, Brett Bailey, we're going to talk to those guys in a little bit. Pelham's got a good team. They might not have, off the charts, size or, these guys, the superstar players, but they just have a toughness about them. They're a bunch of scrappers that are physical, and they got some shooters as well. But like you said, Pembroke and Portsmouth are definitely look like the two teams to beat going into the season. We're going to talk with Coach Matalosa from Pembroke in a little while, and that is definitely a huge game this Friday night when those two teams match up.
Oh, I've been excited about that ever since I saw it on the NHIAA schedule a couple of weeks ago. Knew that was the game that I wanted to be at. There's a lot of interesting matchups over the course of the year. I think it's cool that it's the opening game of the season, but I also think it's kind of a shame because these two teams don't have a chance to get their feet wet. They're just, boom, right into the fire right away. And I think that both teams are going to be a lot different, a month or two from now than they will be coming up on Friday night. The other thing is, I think Pembroke is the deeper team. They have more different guys that you have to worry about. I'm not saying that Portsmouth doesn't have that, but Portsmouth is really about one guy, and that's Kamal Walker. They've got some talent around him, but he's really the only outstanding player that they have. I think Pembroke has several outstanding players. So that's why I think I'm going to give Pembroke the edge, not only in that game on Friday night. I think a lot of that has to do with the home court at Clough Court at Pembroke Academy. I think that's a tough place to play. But I also think they're just deeper, and I think that ultimately when it comes down to it at the end of the year, they're going to be the better basketball team. Nothing against Portsmouth. I think Jim Mulvey has a great program over there, but I think a team will beat a great player 9 out of 10 times, and that's why I think Pembroke's the favorite.
I agree with you. I think if I had to pick one team going in to win this thing, probably would be Pembroke, but Portsmouth is right there. You mentioned Kamal Walker, and in my opinion, outside of Dimitri Flores, Kamal Walker is the best player in the NHIAA, in my opinion. And They have him coming back. He had a great summer and spring. Worked out a lot with the Integrity Hoops guys. Noah LaRoche out of Exeter, who's he's worked out NBA players, and he's worked out a lot of kids out on the Seacoast that have gotten a lot better. We'll talk in the Division I preview in a separate video. But Matt Barr is another kid for Exeter that's worked out with Integrity Hoops and has gotten a lot better. He's going to have a big season this year as a junior. But other guys for that portion of the team, they got a kid coming up from JV, Jack Mackey, also played football for that team. He's a good guard. Billy Lane, apparently he's coming back, going to play on the hardwood this year, putting those football cleats away. They got a couple big guys who didn't get a ton of minutes last year but are solid in the post. Jacob Lahu and Alex Regazio, a couple big guys over there. Kyle DeCesare, hoping to come back from that injury. He injured his ankle playing football, missed the last few games of the season. Still, a couple weeks ago, he had his, I was at the Dover versus Portsmouth girls scrimmage, and he still had his ankle in a boot. But he's hoping to come back pretty soon in the next couple of weeks. A player who's been starting since he was a sophomore. As a sophomore, had over 20 points against Milford in the playoffs. And then also, you have another starter come back, Greg Segranis, a kid who's, I thought, one of their most underrated players last year. Really a glue player, one of the top defenders in the state. So Portsmouth also is going to be a very good team this year as well.
No, I agree with you. I mean, look, it's been a few years now that those two teams that we've been talking about, Portsmouth and Pembroke, have been in the mix. The only difference is this year, Milford not really being talked about. A lot of people say the size that Bedford has. Pelham's always in the mix. I don't think it's wide open this year. Division II/Class I has not been wide open in a while, but it's nice that there's really two teams that people think they both have a chance at winning this thing, and it's just going to be a fun season.
Pelham's going to be very tough. We're going to be talking to them, like I said, in a couple minutes. A couple of the teams, Bedford and Lebanon. Like you said, there might not be, might be a couple teams that are really legitimate title contenders in this league, 2 or 3 teams, but Bedford and Lebanon, watch out for those teams. Bedford, with all that size that they have, they got a 6'9" sophomore Colin McManus and a 6'6" sophomore Roger Larrabee, who both gotten a lot better. They got a 6'7", 6'8" senior Trevor Fahmy. All that size that these guys got, in a solid senior guard Trevor Glassman, who can really shoot the basketball. They're going to be a tough team. Lebanon with David Hampton as a junior, and some other guys coming back, Matt Cowles and Mark Davidson. They're going to be a tough team. I think those are your top 5. But after that, we're going to talk to Matt Alosa in a little while. But one of the teams that talking to him before the show, before he came on, he said Merrimack Valley is going to be a pretty good team as well. So there might be some sleeper teams in there as well that could creep up. So it's going to be a fun season in Division II. But Pembroke and Portsmouth squaring off on Friday night. That should be a fun one to get a little bit of a preview of how the season's going to go.
How do you feel about that game being the opening game of the season? I mean, like I said before, I'm excited about having such a great game. But you know what? A lot of times those early season games, especially the opening games, are a little bit sloppy. So you don't get the quality of play that you would, a month into the season or so. So I'm just wondering what kind of execution, what style of play do you expect it to be? A masterpiece or kind of like an abstract art where this stuff happening all over the place?
I like that analogy. I think it's a fun way to start the season. It might not be, the level of play might not be the same as you would see later in the year, but it adds drama to the opening night. You want that first night of the season to really hook people in. You want, it's like your homecoming game. You want to have it be a big game against a rival, a big game that's going to really pack the stands, because you want the interest level to be there. You want to bring all the students out and show them that we got a good team and it's going to be a big season. Bring out a big team that's a rival, and let's give them a good show, as good a show as you possibly can on opening night. It's going to be a fun game on Friday night with those teams, and a fun season as well in Division II. As we continue with our Division II New Hampshire High School Basketball Preview Show, bringing on some teams here coming up next on the New Hampshire Notebook, NHNotebook.com.